Let me demonstrate and explain this, I think, relatively easy method if we're going to do freehand drawing to draw a house, particularly when we're looking straight on at a house. Yes, I realised I was out of camera range there. The first thing to do is to choose some elements or an element that we can draw fairly accurately in proportion, and some sort of rectangular shape is ideal because we only have to be looking at height and width. In this case, I took the two front windows as one unit, and so I'm doing my best to get them in proportion. And what I now do is I draw around them the part of the architecture that is around them, looking at the relative widths on each side of the windows and between the two of them. And now that I've drawn this, if you like, box, I expand out from this and I use this now as my measurement. Now, because I'm drawing or attempting to draw actual size, that makes this method more straightforward as well, because I'm looking to copy the widths that I see or the height of various elements. So you see me just put in some dots. That's where I think the lines are going to be. It lets me visualize the lines there. And often I think, no, that's not quite right, or it's not quite an equal space on each side if that's what we want. We're not looking directly front on here. We're slightly off center, but it's fundamentally front on. And when I started, I hadn't actually worked out that I was going to use sketch markers at the end. But I felt that because I really wanted to capture the heat of the moment, the heat of the day, it was a very hot day when I took this, right next to an Aldi store in an outer Sydney suburb, that I decided that the markers would work better than hatching. Although I do use a fair bit of hatching, I do like to combine hatching, cross-hatching with markers. Now, I'm continuing my method, and you can see me marking on the reference photo. Again, always freely scribble on your photo to get a sense, help you get a stronger, more accurate sense of distances and widths and so forth. And you can see all the marks where I've done that. And I also use lines to get alignment. So for instance, the top of this pitched roof, what's that over underneath? Is it in between the two windows? Almost is. It's just a little bit slightly off center. And then working out the pitch, you saw me measuring the angle with my ruler. You also would have seen me doing an angled line over the left side of the pitched roof to get a feel for what that felt like. Then put it on my paper at the right angle. Again, I'm lining up where the veranda is now. So having drawn this first part and having drawn the fence under it, I now start to move across to the left. So I work out the front of the veranda. What does that line up with what I've already drawn? Now, I'm not so sure how far across to take it at this point. I could just go across and try and do it in terms of the sections of the veranda. But what I find is, for me, works better and is more accurate, is to use whatever architectural elements are on that wall to help me move across in fairly accurate proportion. Now, I'm doing this hedging here that comes up between the pillars of the fence, and I fill them in now because it just helps give a sense of value and helps me to see proportions better sometimes, to darken some of the darker elements. It makes things line up more easily, or not without reference. And so I've used the doorway, I've used now the window that connects with that first pole. I noticed that the second pole going to the left was further away because part of that gap in the center of the picture is shortened because of the angle. And so again, these are the things we need to notice. And then I position the return veranda column that we can see and then the end column. And now I just do this tree that visually comes in front of, well, and physically as well, comes in front of the veranda. Because then I know where to finish my lines. So I do a few lines. Now I'm trying to work out where that corner is, and again I relate it to things I've already drawn, and I also use the angle that I see from this viewpoint to help me position it properly. As it is, I don't do a great job. I honestly didn't observe the whole thing carefully enough. So a drawing that started as a relatively simple single rectangle now looks somewhat more complicated. But you need to remember when we look at this stage is that I didn't draw all of this all at once. I drew it part by part, carefully observing the proportions of the new part and referencing where endpoints or corners or new details might be in relation to the things I've already drawn. I say over and over again, so many of our drawing errors come from lack of observation, not lack of drawing skill. It's not that we couldn't draw what we were wanting to draw, it's just that we thought we were drawing something different to what was in the reference. And with these fences, these gates rather, there are some darks behind, so there's a chance to use a bit of negative space to highlight the gates when we do the dark values behind them. But you can see that the further along the drawing goes, the faster it becomes to draw, because there's more and more to measure against. And sometimes when we're drawing this way, what happens is that we realize that we've got a few mistakes that stop us aligning something as exactly as we could or as we should. And in those instances, make a slight adjustment, just position whatever element I'm trying to put in as closely as I can to where it should be, but with it still looking okay for my drawing. In the end, people aren't going to be comparing it to the reference. Well, except you and all of my drawings. But generally that doesn't happen. So we want our drawing still to look right. Even if in the end that means we have to balance out some slight inconsistencies or errors and make those adjustments. Now, often in learning to draw, we're encouraged to draw larger boxy shapes particularly, and then to add the smaller details inside as we refine those shapes. But drawing freehand in pen, every single mark I put on the paper will be there at the end of the drawing. And so I can't do roughing out ink lines unless my drawing style, my overall technique, wants them to be there at the end. And I find the problem with trying to draw in a fairly simplified way the larger shapes straight off and then add the details is that if they're only a small part out of proportion in terms of height to width, or the angles aren't quite right, then it can be impossible to add all the architectural elements that fit in and create the shapes in the right proportion. So for instance, if our colonnade is too wide, if the columns are too widely spaced, then if there's a window between the columns, it's not going to sit in the gap the same way it does in our reference. The space between the edge of the window and the columns will be too great, or else the window will be too wide. All of this changes the way architecture looks. Whereas I find that starting with a smaller element of architecture and then getting that as accurate as we can and taking all the time we need to get that first part, these two windows, as in proportion as we can. And then to use that as our reference as we move outwards, making whatever adjustments we need to realistically make is a great way to progress something. It also forces us to observe really carefully right from the word go. And I think that's always going to be to our advantage in the finished drawing. Now, I have worked out by now that I'm going to use the sketch markers, not hatching, for the shadow certainly under the veranda and probably all of the darker values. And so I draw a line which I've realized was too high. I thought it was worth doing a second line and trusting that it's not going to be particularly obvious at the end. And I've just realised that that tree in the upper right corner totally escaped me. I don't know that it's such a problem not to have drawn it. Have a look at the finished drawing and see what you think. And so now I'm doing this pathway in front. It's so easy when we do parts such as this pathway just to do some straight lines, but they don't capture the edges that we're actually seeing, the edges of grass in most of these lines, or in the gutter, are very uneven, visually uneven, broken section length because of all the bits and pieces that end up in a gutter, little rocks and leaves and bits of rubbish, all of which prevent us from seeing a nice straight smooth edge, even if there is one there. If we want to inject a sense of realism in our drawings, then we need to resist doing smooth straight lines when that's not the sort of edge we're looking at. Edges are so very, very important in what we do. Now, we might like drawing houses, but if there are houses, there's so often trees around, so we really need to work at our technique for drawing trees. If you haven't looked at my trees playlist, it's trees, leaves, trunks, branches, flowers, grass, all things foliage and leafy and growing in the sun. So why not have a look at that? Trees are such a great contrast to architecture. They make the architecture look more architectural with their organic forms, their different values and textures and edges. So it's certainly worth paying some attention to how we draw trees. It's always a shame when a nice architectural drawing has been spoilt by the foliage drawn around it that hasn't been drawn to the same skill level as the architecture. So just checking these corrugations. Corrugations always angle as they move away from us more and more. Directly in front of us, the corrugations are straight. But of course, not if we've cropped the picture or someone else has cropped the picture before we've seen it. Now, sorry about that. I paused the camera and didn't turn it back on till I'd done most of this. I'm just now adjusting that darkness under the veranda. I'm using my Copic sketch markers, N for neutral grey, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I used 5 different values, and I've used an N3 and N2 for under the veranda there. But after I finished, I felt it looked just too pale, just a bit too light for the value we have in the reference, and it made the sun less sunny. So after the camera was off, I went over it again with an N4 and N3, so I upped both the values I've got under there by 1 level, and I think it works much better. And so I show you at the end when I finish this. So just wait till the end when I do the outro and let me know in the comments whether you think it works better being pushed that little bit darker, or whether you feel having been left as it looks now would have been better. These sketch markers, or any sketch marker such as this, is a great way to have a huge impact on the drawing very quickly. They're great for location work for that reason. So much faster than hatching. And sometimes simply, I believe, a better choice, although I do think they combine quite well. You're watching this at 3 times drawing speed, so if you use the cog icon to reduce it by half, you'll see it not that much more than my actual drawing speed, if that's helpful in seeing precisely my order of doing things. So here it is. Now in a second, you'll get to see it with the darker values. And let me know in the comments which ones you prefer more. What do you think? There's a bit less sun in the sky now, so it's a little bit darker as well. I think this works well and gives a much stronger sense of the brilliant sunshine. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Thanks for joining. Hope you give this a go. You'll find the photo on my channel community page. But look, whatever you end up drawing, however you draw it, freehand or not, sunshine or not, a house or not, whatever method, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.